Imagine it's test day and you're doing really well. Then you reach the PTE speaking task and you think, I wish I practiced just a little more. Well, you're in luck. Let's practice all 5 of the PTE speaking tasks right now. Okay, let's start with read aloud. Many students find read aloud much easier than some of the other speaking tasks like describe image, for example, but always remember that read aloud is critical for both your speaking and reading scores. So, here it is. The prep and speaking time will vary for each question, but it'll be between 30 and 40 seconds. For this one, you have 35 seconds to prepare, and then you'll have another 35 seconds to read aloud as clearly and as naturally as you can. Are you ready? Let's practice one now. Okay, start preparing now. Now read the paragraph out loud now. So, how did you go? There were some seriously tricky words. Let's listen to a high-scoring model answer.
Even with a highly skilled neurosurgeon, the most effective anesthesia, and all the advances in modern medicine, most of us would cringe at the thought of undergoing cranial surgery today. Yet for thousands of years, trepanation, the act of scraping, cutting, or drilling an opening into the cranium, was practiced around the world, primarily to treat head trauma.
As you could hear in the model answer, sentence stress was really important to read this well. You needed to start out strong on the even with, followed by the most, and so on. There was also tricky pronunciation. In the prep time, make sure you stop on those hard to pronounce words and really sound them out. Even if you've never seen them before, you can still say them correctly. Anesthesia, neurosurgeon, trepanation. If you felt you struggled on this task, you might want to pause the video here and try to read it again. Before we have a look at another read aloud task, remember to subscribe for more PTE practice. Also, let us know in the comments what you would like to see in a future video. Okay, here is another read aloud task. This time, you have 40 seconds to prepare and 40 seconds to speak. My tip for this task is, in the prep time, is read through in a whisper and stop and sound out difficult words. Then, when the timer restarts, read with rhythm and clarity. Are you ready? Start preparing now. Now read the paragraph aloud. So, how did you find this one? Let's listen to a model answer.
How much money do you spend in your life in a supermarket? They owe us to put a food ambassador in every major supermarket. They need to help us shop. They need to show us how to cook quick, tasty, seasonal meals for people that are busy. This is not expensive.
Wow, that was a strange text, especially the intonation, the ups and the downs. Getting the intonation right was key to reading this well. It was also quite short. If you did finish around the 20-second mark, that's fine. You can just click Next when you're done and move on. Our next PTE task type is repeat sentence. For the repeat sentence task, you need to listen intently to the sentence. It'll have 2 or 3 main phrases. Then, once you've understood the sentence, repeat it back exactly as it was said. And remember to put energy into your response. Okay, here's the first sentence. Ready?
Machine learning is a branch of artificial intelligence.
Did you get it? The answer was, machine learning is a branch of artificial intelligence. Did you notice how it has 3 phrases or chunks? Machine learning is a branch of artificial intelligence. Let's do another one. Ready?
You will need to click on Course Search on the left side of the page.
The answer is, you will need to click on Course Search on the left side of the page. Did you emphasize the course search part? To achieve a high score for this task, you would have needed to emphasize it. And one more for good measure. Ready?
The mathematics exam results were posted on the website yesterday.
The answer is, the mathematics exam results were posted on the website yesterday. Did you get those plurals right? Mathematics, results? So, how did you go? How many words did you skip or misinterpret? Or did you get them all? Let us know in the comments how you went with those questions. Here is our next task, describe image. Before we look at some describe image tasks, let's quickly recap the E2 method for a high-scoring describe image response. First, introduce the image with "this image represents," and then read the title and axis, then describe the most obvious aspects of the image, and then conclude with a sentence like, overall, try to finish without rushing before the 40 seconds. So here it is. You have 25 seconds to analyze the image and prepare, then you will have 40 seconds to speak. Okay, ready? Prepare and speak now. How did you go? Let's listen to a model answer now. On the screen, you will also see a transcript.
This combined graph shows average rainfall and temperature for Koh Samui over the period of a year. The highest rainfall occurred in October and November, with precipitation for the rest of the year being at around half the level, apart from a low point in February. Temperatures fluctuated in a small range during the year, peaking at 33 degrees in May. In conclusion, it could be predicted that the highest rainfall will continue to occur around October and November in the future unless climate change intervenes to change the pattern.
That was a perfect response, so don't be disheartened if yours was a little messier. It's perfectly normal and natural to hesitate and ah a little bit. As I mentioned at the start of this video, many students find this task very challenging, but with practice and feedback, you can achieve the score you need. So let's practice another one. So here it is. Just like the first describe image question, you have 25 seconds to analyze the graph and prepare. Then you have 40 seconds for your response. Ready? Your preparation time starts now. Okay, give your response now. How do you think you went this time? Did you think you did better than the first task? Let's now listen and read a model answer.
The line chart displays current smartphone usage from June 2012 to June 2015. The most popular smartphones throughout the period were iPhones and Androids, and the least popular were Windows phones and Blackberries. iPhones held the largest market share until June 2015, when they were eclipsed by Androids. Windows phones had a very small but largely consistent market share throughout the period, while Blackberries fell steadily until December 2013, when they dipped below Windows numbers and remained at that level. In conclusion, it can be seen that around 95% of the market share is held by the two strongest performers.
One of the keys to describe image is to keep it simple and focus on your delivery, not worrying too much about the content. Do you think you can do that? Let's do one more describe image practice task. So here it is. This time we can see it's a map. Again, the instructions say you have 25 seconds to analyze the graph and prepare. Then you have 40 seconds for your response. Ready? Your preparation time starts now. Okay, give your response now. How was that one? Did you find the map easier or harder than the graphs? Let's listen and read the final describe image model answer.
The map shows the impact of climate change around the world. More destructive hurricanes and less predictable monsoons are some of the weather-related impacts in the Northern Hemisphere, while reduced crop yields and danger of drought are the biggest weather impacts in the South. Surprisingly, Canada and Russia can expect better farming conditions. Africa in particular is at greater risk of an increase in malaria. In conclusion, the impacts could be expected to be devastating in most countries.
That model answer was great and would receive a high score on test day. You should now reflect on what you did well and try to identify what you could improve. By doing this, you will be fully prepared for test day. All right, the next task type is retell lecture. In retell lecture, you will need to take notes, so I recommend finding a pen and paper before we practice this task. I also recommend using our E2 retell lecture method. Just to remind you, the E2 method is the speaker was discussing, he or she mentioned, talked about, discussed. Finally, it's a simple but powerful method that will keep you on track as you retell the lecture. Sign up for free at www.e2testprep.com to get access to our E2 methods videos for every PTE task. So, here is our retell lecture practice task. Look at the picture, listen, and take notes. After listening, you will have 10 seconds. Then you will need to retell the lecture in your own words in under 40 seconds. Okay, time to listen and take notes.
Never before have expectations been so high about what human beings can achieve with their lifespan. We're told from many sources that anyone can achieve anything. We've done away with the caste system. We're now in a system where anyone can rise to any position they please, and it's a beautiful idea. Along with that has come a spirit of equality. We're all basically equal. There are no strictly defined kind of hierarchies. There is one really big problem with this, and that problem is envy. Envy, it's a real taboo to mention envy, but if there's one dominant emotion in modern society, that is envy, and it's linked to the spirit of equality. The closer two people are, in age, in background, in the process of identification, the more there's a danger of envy, which is incidentally why none of you should ever go to a school reunion, because there is no stronger reference point than people one was at school with. The problem generally of modern society is it turns the whole world into a school. Everybody's wearing jeans, everybody's the same, and yet they're not. So there's a spirit of equality combined with deep inequalities, which can make for a very stressful situation. It's probably as unlikely that you would nowadays become as rich and famous as Bill Gates as it was unlikely in the 17th century that you would accede to the ranks of the French aristocracy. But the point is, it doesn't feel that way. It's made to feel by magazines and other media outlets that if you've got energy, a few bright ideas about technology, a garage, you too could start a major thing.
Ready to give your response? Your time starts now. Okay, how did you go with that? Did you use the E2 method? Here is a sample response. You can see the transcript as well if you want to pause and read and compare your notes to what was said. Listen carefully to the way the speaker retells the lecture.
The speaker was discussing expectations about human achievement. He mentioned that today there is a spirit of equality. Then he talked about how there are no strictly defined hierarchies and how we all believe that we can succeed. Next, he described how this masks a real danger, which is envy, and that this is a dominant emotion today. He discussed how the combination of equality and inequality today causes stress. Finally, he suggested that despite the rhetoric, there is little chance that most of us will be hugely successful.
Let's do another question now. This time, concentrate on your pronunciation and delivery. Ready? Listen and take notes now.
Still, technology isn't the only thing pushing athletes forward. While indeed we haven't evolved into a new species in a century, the gene pool within competitive sports most certainly has changed. In the early half of the 20th century, physical education instructors and coaches had the idea that the average body type was the best for all athletic endeavours, medium height, medium weight, no matter the sport. And this showed in athletes' bodies. In the 1920s, the average elite high jumper and average elite shot putter were the exact same size. But as that idea started to fade away, as sports scientists and coaches realised that rather than the average body type, you want highly specialised bodies that fit into certain athletic niches, a form of artificial selection took place, a self-sorting for bodies that fit certain sports, and athletes' bodies became more different from one another. Today, rather than the same size as the average elite high jumper, the average elite shot putter is 2.5 inches taller and 130 pounds heavier, and this happened throughout the sports world. In sports where height is prized, like basketball, the tall athletes got taller. In 1983, the National Basketball Association signed a groundbreaking agreement, making players partners in the league entitled to shares of ticket revenues and television contracts, and suddenly anybody who could be an NBA player wanted to be, and teams started scouring the globe for the bodies that could help them win championships. Almost overnight, the proportion of men in the NBA who are at least 7 feet tall doubled to 10%.
Speak now. How was that? Are you building your confidence? Of course, practice helps a lot. Okay, here's the transcript if you want to pause and check your notes against what was said, and here's the high-scoring sample response.
The speaker was discussing the gene pool within high-level sports. He mentioned that the pool has changed. Then he talked about how in the past, coaches believed that the ideal body type for an athlete was medium height and medium weight. And next he described how later they realised that certain body types were better suited to particular sports and a kind of artificial selection occurred. He discussed how today athletes' bodies look very different to the way they looked in the past. Finally, he suggested that basketball selects for tall people, and this trend was accelerated by changes in contracts.
So, reflect on your own performance. How did you do? How was your content, pronunciation, and oral fluency? Which aspect or aspects do you need to work on? Finding your weaknesses and improving on them is a great way to achieve a high score for a retail lecture. Okay, the last PTE speaking task type, answer short question. For answer short question, all you need to do is simply listen carefully and answer the question in a word or short phrase. Let's practice a few of them now. Question 1. Ready? Listen now.
What is the name of the item that is commonly used to control the cursor on a computer?
Did you get it? The answer is mouse or a mouse. With or without the article a is fine. Both are acceptable. Let's do another one. Ready? Listen carefully.
What is the name for a piece of clothing that protects your hands?
The answer is a glove or gloves, plural. Each would be acceptable. Not so bad, right? But I recommend focusing on your pronunciation on the next one. If your pronunciation is poor, you will lose marks here. Okay, last one. Ready?
A table is used for eating at. What furniture is used for studying at?
Did you get it? The answer is desk or a desk. With or without the a is fine. So that's it. You practice all of the PTE speaking tasks. Well done. If you're unhappy with your speaking performance, what do you think it might have been? What's holding you back? What do you need to work on? Is it your listening skills or a lack of vocab? What about your pronunciation? How are your consonant sounds? Vowel sounds? Stress patterns? Intonation? Your overall rhythm? What about your oral fluency? How's your confidence? Do you understand the E2 techniques and methods? Do you need feedback? Feedback is critical if you can't work out what you're doing wrong. Keep going, you'll get there. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this practice helpful. Remember, if you're looking for more PTE practice materials like online practice questions, mock tests, and live classes, sign up to e2testprep.com. Good luck!